We're back with another episode of the Roll for Crit podcast, the official podcast for rollforcrit.com. Watch, shop, play. I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and on this day in board game history, in the year 1532...
Specifically that year.
Yes, no other year. I wouldn't say another year if there was one. This took place in England. It was the first official live action chess board that ever happened. Real, side to side, they stood on squares, they reenacted all the pieces from chess. And they
reenacted, they didn't play chess, they just reenacted it.
It was a reenactment of chess, and most of them died. Almost everyone in the field did die. They used real weapons.
So it was a snuff play.
Yep. It's not talked about a lot. It's a dark part of their history, but it is a true fact about board games.
More importantly, which side won?
Black.
So that's why it's a dark part of the history.
Yep. We're on thin ice right now, so let's move into some news because there are some very big stories to talk about. This is a real episode, real news, no more event talk. And the first thing is they announced a brand new edition of Warhammer 40,000, or 40K as it's known in some circles. So, miniatures game, I'm sure you've heard of it. There's a new edition coming out, and they actually released with the announcement an FAQ, if you will, which is how we have most of the information that we have. But basically the idea is they're going to streamline the older rules for new players, but not dumb them down as they promise. What's really cool about it is these new rules are actually going to be available for free, they say. They don't have details yet, but presumably you'll be able to download a PDF and you'll be able to access the core rulebook for free, which is nice. All the old things will be compatible with it still. If you have old armies and miniatures of any kind, they're all going to be still compatible, so you don't have to worry about your stuff being worthless anymore, which is never fun.
Especially considering how much work you probably put into those miniatures.
Yeah, if you've painted them, etc. And it's going to have specifically 3 new modes to play as. Open, which is anything goes. Narrative, which is following their lore storyline reenactments, and matched, which is competitive play. So they're putting a lot of stuff into this. It sounds like they're doing kind of the same thing a little bit that we saw last year with War Machine, where they're
I was actually going to bring that up when they redid it, and you have the conversion kits, but new starter sets, and I think it's a really smart move on their part to re-enter the world. I mean, I've seen Magic do this plenty of times. Plenty of other things do it when they'll do like, hey, we're redoing some stuff. Here's a new starter set so we can get new people in. And it's something you got to do every now and then.
It seems like in general the big trend now is let's make it so normal people can play our games too, and not just the people who are obsessed with the hobby.
Right, and in particular, I think Warhammer is one that really could use it because like when I'm online and even just on random image boards and stuff, there are people who will still post like, what's happening here, hearsay and stuff. Like there's plenty of Warhammer references and stuff. So I feel compared to other things, it's reasonably out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, like, even, it's not that many people, in terms of the large scheme of the world are playing it, but everybody knows that name, Warhammer. Even if you, don't know anything about it, you're familiar with that. It's not like, I think the only thing that really even comes close in terms of miniatures games is maybe HeroClix and War Machine a little bit, but Warhammer really is that's the thing. It's like the D&D basically for miniatures games.
Right, and the other thing that we need to bring up is the play modes, which I think are very important. You get 3 play modes that fit a lot more people. Let's go. First, open. This is where you can get your casual, fun, crazy armies. Go nuts. Which fits much easier for people who maybe don't feel as sure, they don't want to invest so much and be like, I know this is the most competitive miniature, so on and so forth. The lore one, which is going to fit more people like me, who love the story, and you can maybe every month or whatever certain time period you can be like, here's a special scenario we've made. And that's the kind of stuff that really, you can get interest like, oh, so I can actually imagine myself in this kind of story, and that fits that kind of crowd. And then, of course, competitive, it fits the competitive people. Probably a lot more of the veterans and stuff can feel like their army's like, okay, I mean, and you got to have that.
Yes, that's definitely, if they didn't have that, they'd be losing a lot of money, I think.
So I think they really they're trying to expand and make it more accessible to a lot more of the audience in different ways.
And according to them, they did take into consideration a lot of actual feedback from fans of the game. So it sounds like they're doing things that people actually asked for. Again, we don't know really specifics yet. We just know like some stuff they're keeping and not getting rid of. But
right, and I mean, neither of us. I don't think you've played.
No, we're not. We're not the miniatures people.
No, I've already lost all my money in Magic.
Yeah, we're not good. But I mean,
You, on the other hand, you still have a bank account, right?
We're always, every time they put out one of these new waves, we're like, oh, maybe this will be the thing. It usually isn't, but maybe this will be the thing. That'll be later this year. And of course, if you don't like it, you can always just use the original rules if you really want to and still play with your old stuff that way. But it's nice that they freshen things up now and then.
Right.
There's more, even newer things.
Right. This is very interesting. If you recall, I think we talked about this a long time ago. The Legend of the Five Rings used to be CCG, and they said they were going to end it.
Right.
Well, Fantasy Flight has picked up the banner and are now releasing a new LCG version of it. There's actually the other thing I wanted to tell you about that I forgot about.
Now we got it. It's here.
But if you've played any of the other LCGs, they're competitive ones, this sort of falls in the same kind of banner. They tried to keep, a lot of the same houses in there, or I think they call them houses.
I think clans.
Clans, that's what they are, yes. I believe one isn't in there right now, but I'm sure they'll get to it, because, it can only fit so much in a starter set.
Right.
And I think it has some things different. It made, from what I've read, it made it easier to win some of the other ways. It used to be, I think, not competitive, being like the war aggressive was
army.
Way more likely to win the matches. But this seems to try to balance it out more.
Yes, like I can go into some of the...
Right, there is one...
Yes, go ahead. No, say it. Yeah.
Okay, one thing that I caught that I read, and this is my sort of my alarm going off, for me at least.
Okay.
To get a full playset of every copy of the game, a card, in the starter set, you need 3.
Yeah, no, I jotted that down. They are not budging on that thing, it seems.
Well, and there's a lot of debate around it, which is interesting because apparently I think the Game of Thrones has 2, I'm not sure. Arkham needs 2. And to me, that was actually fine. I think 2 is, because it also Arkham, that expanded. You pretty much then can almost get 4 people in.
Mm-hmm.
But 3, I feel, and the problem is because Android Netrunner, and I'm a little not as bad on Android because it's older, but that third copies get 3 copies of like 11 cards. Yeah. I don't know what the official one for this is. I think they just said you need 3. And that was something that really disappointed me about this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I guess from their standpoint, if people are still doing it, why not keep doing it? But it feels very cash grabby. It feels very lame that 3, like, to have to buy 3 of anything is like, imagine if a video game came out and you had to buy 3 copies of it to have a complete DLC or something.
Red, blue, and yellow.
Well, we figured it out. That's where it came from. Yeah, I don't know, but it is a little weird. But we can talk about the game itself. Like you were kind of alluding to, the honor system, which is the thing that sounded cool to me. Now, I don't know about the CCG, how much of this came from that.
It did have an honor system, something like that. That's what I read. Like other people, like one guy it was really funny because people were arguing about like the honor system only won once, and someone's like, yeah, no, it's won a couple more times, and like the people were like posting about who won the tournaments.
But basically, you can draw up to 5 cards, but for each card, if you draw 5 and your opponent only draws 1, you have to give them 4 honor. So you have to decide how much it's worth it, which seems like a really cool mechanic to me. It sounds different from many of the other games.
And certain houses play on it, because I know the one house I remember people talking about was called the Scorpion Clan, not house, clan, and it plays on dishonor. Like, its whole thing is, I'm just going to be a jerk.
Right, yeah. That's always good. And you've got cool little dials to mark your honor. So, it's definitely going to be big. It's cool to see how they're using the property so far. I'm curious if we'll see like an RPG to follow or things like that from them.
I'm still going to look into it, even though I'm not as big fan of 3-copy. I am willing to proxy, probably if I need to. And also the other big reason why I'm willing to look into it, because I showed it to our friend Mark, who's the LCG man. And of course, and his 2 favorite things in the world are samurai and cowboy. Yes, this is based off of his movies he used to watch as a kid. So, you know, for him, he's just like, I'm in.
Yeah.
So, like, if we each got a copy, it's not as bad if you know someone else and if you're both willing to proxy.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's not, well, the 3 thing is like makes me disappointed. You know, it's not the worst thing in the world.
It's not a surprise, I guess. I mean,
and well, I should mention one other thing I thought about, because Netrunner, as we know, started, and Game of Thrones, I believe, is starting for this year, has World Championship decks. And if, let's say, one of those cards you need 3 copies of happens to be that good, it's in a world that it's kind of, you might be able to buy the World Championship deck and get the copies of the cards with alternate art. So to me, that's why I love those things. You might be able to bypass that with some cooler cards.
It would be nice if they just sold a pack of the extra cards you need.
I remember that brought up in Netrunner, and they're like, that'd be too expensive for us to do and stuff. So that's not going to happen.
At any rate, the game will probably be fun. Pretty much all their LCGs are a quality gameplay experience.
I played most, partly because of Mark, and I've enjoyed them.
And we've said it before, but you know, buying 3 copies sucks, but if you compare it to a CCG, you're still saving a lot of money. So
probably
there is that aspect to it as well.
At least that's the only thing you have to buy 3 of.
Right.
The packs usually.
So that's from the Far East. Let's move to a different country. We're going to Germany now, where they've announced Ticket to Ride Germany, and this is interesting because it is basically the same exact map as the Ticket to Ride Markland expansion.
Yeah, I remember when you first told me about this, and I'm like, is this Ticket to Ride Markland?
Right. So, same map, as far as I can tell. It doesn't sound like there's a double-sided board or anything. That same map, but they're selling it as a standalone rather than a map expansion. And it has 2 new things to it. One of them is passenger meeples. So now, when you complete a route, each city will have meeples in it of different colors. And when you complete a route, you get to choose to take a meeple from one of the 2 connecting cities you did. At the end of the game, you will be rewarded points for who had the most green meeples, who had the most red meeples, and if you're in 2nd place, you get less, and 3rd place doesn't get anything. So that's another layer of scoring points on there, so you might want to complete routes that aren't part of your destination tickets, maybe because they have the colors you want, for instance. The other thing is...
And is this new just for this one? Like
just for
Markland?
this one. No, this is brand new.
Because I could see this as a update of Markland, probably because, 1, maybe not as many people know the word Markland compared to Germany. And 2, if you can look at the art styles, this looks much more like all their other boxes.
True.
So that's why I wasn't sure.
No, that's a new mechanic. The other one is there's now a short destination deck and a long destination deck. So you actually can decide when you're drawing your destination cards if you want to go for a shorter route or a longer route.
I think that's very interesting.
Because, you know, usually the thing is, like, if it's late in the game, you draw and you're like, oh, I just hope I get something I can finish.
Oh, that's cross country. I'm doomed.
Right. Now you can actually, there's a less chance there, which is kind of nice. So this sounds pretty cool, but it really does, to me, sound like that could have just been, both of those things could have been a small expansion rather than put them into a whole new box. And especially because they are using that same map again, which is so strange to me.
Well, I do want to see whether they're still deciding to print Markland.
Maybe this is replacing it.
If this is replacing it, then I think overall it makes sense.
Yeah.
If it isn't, then I have to agree with you.
Yeah. No, that's true. But
because, I mean, like I said, it has the same map. It looks like it's meant to fit in more with the others and Markland and stuff. It just feels like it's a replacement.
Yeah. But just if you're one of those people who's a huge Ticket to Ride fan and you already had Markland, then I don't know.
Well, that's why I think it's better that they made the new mechanics. Because this way, if you do buy it to fit in with all your other Ticket to Rides, you're like, well, at least I'm actually getting something new out of it. Yeah,
I guess I just don't feel like, it doesn't sound like it impacts gameplay as much as, for instance, Rails and Sails or Europe did.
No,
it sounds like I almost feel like you could just take some meeples and, I mean, you could say this for a lot of games, but it sounds like you could just do this yourself if you really wanted to. Or I would almost just want to buy this box and use those meeples for any Ticket to Ride game. Like, that's the part that sounds cool.
No, I feel like that's what you'd obviously would do. Like, if you got this, especially also with Europe. I mean, if you want to be like, all right, Alvin's in there, we got stations, we got, you can go the whole shebang.
Yeah, but it is still Ticket to Ride. It's going to be a solid experience, but It does. I don't know. I don't know how many more. We might be hitting the limit of Ticket to Ride boxes.
No, I can. I'm not disagreeing with that. But
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll see. But that is Germany.
at least you only need one copy.
That's right. You don't need to buy 3 copies to get all the trains in that. And final bit of news. This is a bit of a weird, oddball one. Plaid Hat Games and Oni Press have collaborated, and they are going to be releasing a comic book based on the Dead of Winter board game. So what's cool about this, I mean, it maybe seems like a no-brainer. Dead of Winter is fairly Walking Dead influence. That's a big comic. What's strange is that the central character seems to be Sparky the dog.
The best character.
from the game. In their description, they described it as Walking Dead meets Air Bud. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we both, one of the things, probably the main thing we love about Dead of Winter is the atmosphere and the story, the characters that are wacky and interesting.
Well,
so it seems like a natural translation.
Yes and no.
All right.
I mean, I agree with the wacky stuff, but I don't think like, and maybe it's just because we haven't played enough to have these moments, and it does work well. But I'm not like thinking like, oh, this is Marcy. I know her. She was the school teacher who got cancer but defeated it, or like, I don't know these huge backstories behind each of them.
No, I mean that's true, but I think that's almost better because you have more freedom as the writer of this comic.
Oh yeah, probably yeah.
Just use that as your inspiration as opposed to, like, it's not like for Arkham Horror or something.
But I mean, like, to me, honestly, playing Dead of Winter is almost not as much. It almost reminds me more of that Fantasy Flight RPG. It's not as much I'm playing against...
End of the world?
Yeah, against them. I'm seeing you in this kind of situation.
Huh.
A little bit.
Well, that is sort of the game, right? Because you are like the lead...
Yeah, and that's what I feel like a bit more. Like, they're more like pawns to me, with the exception of the dog, because the dog's awesome, has a cape.
I mean, my thinking was there already is The Walking Dead, but I think that's why they're doing this dog angle, that's how they're trying to differentiate themselves.
Wait, do you think the chimp will come up?
It had better. I mean, if there's a dog, why wouldn't it? So, yeah,
that's where they're playing the apes crossover.
Tarzan will join the fight. Star Trek will be in there eventually. It is definitely weird. It is weird, but... Munchkin was, I think, I would say a successful board game to comic translation, and I don't know that there's been that many other ones. I can't think of really anything else other than maybe a one-shot, like for like Sentinels, I think had like a comic, but not like something like this. And Oni Press, if you don't know, they've recently been doing the Rick and Morty, the Invader Zim comics, Scott Pilgrim, so they kind of have that wackier cartoon market under their belt. I don't know. We'll find out later this year if we can grab a copy. We'll let you know our thoughts on that Dead of Winter comic. We have some Kickstarters for you.
We do.
And we're going to start with yours, which has a weird name. Secret Unknown Stuff, Escape from Dolce?
Yeah. The name is definitely out there. But the game reminds me a lot of the title, like Escape or things like that. But the way it works is your experiments or something. I don't know. Sometimes you're experiments, sometimes you're just people. Like in a secret like Area 51 kind of base, and you're trying to escape. There are 7 levels, and actually, if you can see the picture behind me, it actually is a 3D board, so you actually jump from level to level. And the way the game works, it's cooperative. You're all working together to escape, and these each has different characters, different abilities, and some of them are hilarious. Like one's a 2-headed cow with a laser gun.
Okay.
And there's equipment you can get, and there's different kinds of enemies you have to fight. But depending on what you do, you can raise the alarm level. And the higher the alarm level, the worse things that will appear, including, I think the very end is like called the Black Man. It's sort of like a Slender Man, Men in Black kind of.
Okay.
But the way you can like mitigate that by lowering the alarm level. So I had this cool sort of back and forth of like, the faster you have a timer and you have to be careful of it because of the alarm, and had a fun little level and cool little miniatures and a fun little upgrade system. And some of the upgrades are actually specific to characters. Like one character you can play as is literally a family of 4 that like half is like 50s family that have his tentacles, and there's like a special body armor that's just vests, like the like knitted vest, and only they can wear it.
All right. Well, are the upgrades from one game only, or is there a progression like campaign system?
It sounds like campaign. Like I think No, not campaign. It's from one game only. I mean,
Okay.
But I mean, like, it's not you start off with them. I mean, like, you can find
As you
them.
go,
and,
you get stuff.
and more like weirder weapons and stuff. So
Okay.
I thought it looked really fun and really cool.
Anything with a 3D board always catches my attention.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's pretty neat, and giving points for originality, that's for sure. Is Secret Unknown Stuff Escape from Dulce goes for $80 on Kickstarter right now. My first one is one we did talk about this in the story when it was first announced that they were making games based off Wet Hot American Summer, and the first one, or maybe only one as far as I know, is up on Kickstarter now, and it is not a direction that I expected them to go in. It is a role-playing game. It's called Wet Hot American Summer Fantasy Camp, and basically, if you haven't seen the movie, there's a group of characters who are the nerds who play Dungeons and Dragons, and this is sort of a takeoff on that, but you are playing as the characters from the movie, or you can create your own, and you're going through your final day of camp, and it comes with some pre-made adventures that are based directly from the movie, but you could also go crazy and you could make it a space camp. You could have guides for drawing a map for whatever kind of camp that you want, and it's meant to be in the vein of the movie, less about math and numbers and much more of a party game, improvisational, role-playing, humor kind of a thing. Which sounds, I think it's pretty cool because I haven't, when I think of a licensed game coming out, especially for an older movie like this, we've recently seen like The Evil Dead and Terminator from Space Ghost and some other ones where, it's like standard, it's a board game. I rarely feel they go in the role-playing direction, which seems to me like this is more of a passion project than just trying to get some money from fans, and it actually makes sense in the tone of the movie as well. The only thing that I'm a little hesitant about with it is I'm worried that a lot of it is going to be direct references to the movies, and when you have that comparison of like Paul Rudd and Michael Ian Black and these really funny people saying these lines, and then it's just you and your buddies maybe repeating them and not as funny.
Are you saying that we can't match their comedic talent?
Potentially not. So maybe if you make up your own stuff, but then I also think every role-playing group thinks they're hilarious, whether they are or not.
Well, maybe you should come with a little soundboard, like app, so you can just press like the Paul Rudd app. Beep.
So that's the only, you might not want to watch other people play it and just be like, oh, he butchered that line or whatever, but it seems like a fun thing.
Jonathan has high standards when it comes to comedy.
When you're basing it off a great comedy movie, it's
so
tough.
when do you think we're going to get the 1v-all version of Caddyshack? Everyone versus the gopher.
Oh, no, it's the slobs versus the snobs. Come on. This is Fantasy Camp is up for $20, which is fairly reasonable.
For a PDF or for?
I believe that's for a book. For a book. I think $10 for the PDF.
RPGs, you always have to,
yes.
They usually do a PDF version.
So check that out. And this next one looks like a weird image that may be not suitable for work. I don't know.
As far as I know, most of the game is.
All right.
Maybe like one or two characters that look risque, but other than that, it's not like. But Ever After, it's this sort of fairy tale game. There's these two sides, Dawn Guard and Eclipse, and they're pretty much fighting over the land, and you take the roles. But this is a hidden role game. The way it works is you play either like 4 or 6 people. You try to do even number of players, and you're gonna get one card that's like your hidden role. It'll tell you a character, and usually has a secret goal as well as which team they're on.
Okay.
Then in addition to that, you're gonna get to choose a sidekick. Your sidekick doesn't have to match yours. It's gonna be like the remainders of your hidden role cards, and you get one of each. So that one's face up, the other one's face down. And you'll be doing tasks by placing flags, defeating quests to get items, to earn points. There's also a boss that may appear, and if you deal the minimum amount of damage once it dies, so it's not like backstabbing,
okay.
Munchkin style, whoever gets that points. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the game, you're going to tally up all the points, and you could die, but you're still playing, but that's just a minus 15 at the end. But what's interesting is at the end of the game, it's not just whoever has the most points wins, it's whichever team has the most points wins. Which I like because that makes the deduction much more important because it's not just finding your enemies, but your allies. So like, let's say that you and I were on the same team.
Which would never happen.
No, we're always against each other. He's always the bad guy. And let's say you weren't doing that well. If I don't...
That would happen.
If I don't help you let you die and get that minus 15 points, that's actually hurting me more because that takes from our team's total score. So you actually want to try to feel out a lot more what your opponents have and whose side they're on.
Sort of reminds me of what was the Study in Emerald, where it had that weird mechanic where.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was reminding me of.
Yeah. That's it's always good to have another layer there, another layer.
So I think it's not just the simple deduction, but there's a lot more to it. And the way you actually deduct is because each character card that you can get that tells you your side also usually has like it's playful, serious, like hidden, female, male. Because they're all based on like fairy tales or fusions and stuff.
It looks like Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, they're like almost fused. It's like Snow White and the Ice Queen and stuff. Like they change it a little bit more, but like they're actually gonna have an app, so you can actually try to be like, okay, if it's a playful, it could be one of these. It's this. So I think it makes it a lot more interesting in terms of and I think each has 3 attributes, so there's a lot more to it instead of just show me if you're red or blue.
Okay, and those are those like you said they're randomized to an extent, so you could be the same character but have a different.
Oh no, like Pinocchio I know is one, except he's a giant like mech. He is always part of the one group. So if you know that, and let's say he's Sirius, son and male. If you see 2 of those, you're like, okay, he's a pretty likely candidate.
Okay, interesting.
So that it helps with that. But like, if let's say your Pinocchio is your secret character, you can choose someone from the Eclipse side as your assistant, and that doesn't guarantee which side you're on.
All right. Okay.
So I think it's a fun sort of point deduction game with the good twist in the hidden roll. I think that makes it a lot of fun. It does come with just standees for each character, but you can buy miniatures of them. You don't have to do the whole set. You can do pick and choose, so just in case there's just that one you want because they look cool.
Right, for your whatever other fairy tale RPG game you're playing. So that's Ever After Twisted Realm goes for $49 for the core set.
I should also mention, if this looks familiar, this is actually their second Kickstarter. They put it up first, and I think because they got a little excited, and they forgot to put some stuff in there, so they took it down so they can bring it back,
Yeah, it's always good. You got to give them some time to get it right.
Yeah.
As we said, $49. And finally, this one is not a game yet. I don't know if you saw this one, but it's called.
Whoa! I don't think we can show this. This seems a little racy.
No, it's fine. It's fine. This episode is really skirting the edge of disaster. This is called The White Box, and it is basically a make-your-own game kit. It comes with a bunch
Take that, Kickstarter.
Exactly. It comes with a bunch of meeples, blank tokens, wooden cubes, all the kinds of things you think you might want for a basic game design thing. And it comes with a book with a bunch of essays on game design and how game design works, different approaches about randomness, marketing it even, stuff like that, from people who have experience. I know one of them is a professor at DigiPen, the gaming institute, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, like you said, do we really, in this era when it's so easy, there's already 500 Kickstarter games every day.
It's cool because it gives it more of a pieces, because I know like we actually gathered up some stuff to mess around with some ideas we have. So just nice that there's a kit for it. But at the same time, I just can't wait to all these Kickstarters now. It's just the white box, but people say like it's their game.
Well, I think it's probably best used as a tool, not for your final components.
Well, no, I know that the better ones, but I just imagine some people,
Perhaps, but yeah, it seems like a really fun idea, and even if whether you're like an independent, just somebody who's just bored and or especially for kids, or maybe if you're a teacher and you want to help teach kids about the process of creating something, or even it could, I know a lot of times school projects are like make a board game about science or whatever it is. Having a resource like this would actually be really cool. Or even if you're a professional game designer, it's never hurts to have a box to just mess around with, to have a certain amount of pieces to keep your head inside of a space. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like a great idea. I'm surprised I hadn't seen something like that before. And it goes for $30. There's different tiers though for like extra things you can get and stuff like that. But it sounds cool, and the book sounds cool as well. So we did a bunch of things over this past weekend. I want to start with your experience. You attended an event related to Magic,
yes.
The Gathering. Talk to us about it.
I went to the pre-release for Amonkhet. and pretty much it's like the other pre-releases. You get some packs, you get to mess around. The new place I went to a place near my brother's. I'd never been here before. In fact, it's probably the first Magic event I've been to for at least a year or two. You know, it's been a long time.
Was it a nice place?
It was small, but it is actually really nice.
Okay. Was it crowded?
It was somewhat crowded, but not too much. I'd feel like it was a big crowd. Like they can only fit so many people in it. This is small, but it is comic and board games too. Like I remember thinking like, hey, you guys got the DC deck building game there. I see. And it's also like, well, first of all, it's like a walk from my brother's place, which is very nice, and where I park there. It also is less than a walk from a 7-Eleven. So if you need anything.
What else do you need?
But the game itself was really fun. It was very fun also because afterwards my brother's like, you should have built this deck with these cards. I'm like, I did not know that. So I'm terrible at those limited kind of.
It was like you got a bunch of new cards from the new set.
Yeah, the way it works, a pre-release, pretty much they give you like 4 or 5 packs. I can't remember off the top of my head. And you just see what you get and you try to make the best of what you can. And I like that in that sense because even if I do bad, usually I'm like, well, it's
the deck's fault.
Of course, then my brother looks and like, all right, yeah, you had cycling. You could have gone cycling. But like I got one of the god cards, which was, there's a god type. It's not like they're amazing, which is cool. My brother and someone else, like next to him, was hilarious because they both pulled the like amazing planeswalker. So it's just like, wow.
Do they do any kind of official, like, is there prizes and stuff like that?
It depends on your store. What this one did usually is they open packs. You get packs if you come in first and stuff. But what they actually did was I gave 2 packs to everyone, which was really nice. So even if you did poorly like I did,
that's nice.
But first place got they took, the pop figures you don't like? They actually took Magic ones and made little bases like first place in Magic event and like gave them out to the first place person.
I'd be like, I gotta lose. I don't want to take that home.
But that was cool. So the store like did a little bit more, went above and beyond. And but it was sort of fun. Everyone there was much more casual and nice. I also felt good because even though I didn't choose the best cycling deck, my deck was very similar to the first person deck, so I'm like, at least my deck could have done well.
That's all that matters. Yeah, be proud of your deck, not yourself.
And in case anyone's curious, I went with an Esper zombie deck because that had a lot of the entombing zombies and stuff, so it was all right. I could have done better.
Are you going to keep it and modify it or scrap it completely?
No, I scrapped because, I mean, it was okay, and I also don't do the standard. I do more the EDH 100 deck play. The god I'd love to see something with, but it'd be challenging. I got the Black God, who's pretty much he can't do anything unless you kill something each turn. So I had to make sacrifices to it each turn for it to do things.
That sounds fun.
It was fun. The problem is pretty much it eats everything on your board. So I'm like, I don't have anything to block anymore because he ate it all.
I like it. Besides packs, I don't know.
Oh yeah, well we got this nice little. It's like an Egyptian, almost like a sarcophagus almost. Like Magic is really cool with that, and I got a 20-sided die. That's the one thing. Magic does good. One of the reasons I like going to these pre-release events and stuff, they give you like rare stuff. And I think if you go to the draft or do some other things, you can get a 4-sided die, which I like even more for this situation because it's Egyptian themed, so pyramid.
So what do you use the 4-sided die for in Magic?
You just use it for probably like +1 tokens. I think it's more just for because they never give 4-sided die as far as I know before. It's more like, hey, pyramid.
Okay.
Which is like playing a Kemet, which is always fun because they actually have the pyramids you can build.
Right. It's not. You could use it for a speed round where you just start with 4 life.
Then most people, it would be whoever goes first wins. It would because whoever's playing red and goes first wins. I hit you for 4 damage first turn. Done.
In Magic, can you go over your starting health, or is there a max?
Oh, you can. You can go infinite health.
So there you go. You could have a little extra bonus counter. You use the die for that.
Oh, I actually did a lot of times.
Well, it sounds like fun. So overall, it seems like a good set.
Yeah, I mean, a great experience. It's just the big reason, part of the reason why I stopped going to these things is, we finished at 4 in the morning.
I was guessing. I figured AM. Yeah. That's and what time did you get there?
I got to my brother's place at 11.
Okay. Okay.
You know.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
I mean,
but
it
still,
makes sense at
you're
times. Just,
tired.
you know.
Yeah, that can be rough. I played some games that aren't as good as Magic. Well, so I had a weekend. One of my friends was had a big party with a ton of people over, and people were playing. Another person actually brought some board games that we were playing. I brought a bag full of games that we only played one of. The first thing we did was
Doesn't it always feel bad when you're like, I brought my bag of games, and you like it's just there sitting there.
But partially it was me just like, I just want to drink.
No, I mean, I understand. In that kind of situation, almost that's what's going to happen.
Also, there was no table space. We played on a bed.
I had a feeling.
So we played Russian Roulette, which we've talked about on the show. World Championship Russian Roulette, to clarify, not real Russian Roulette. But
Congrats on winning.
that was interesting because it made me realize that game, like many games, is dependent on your group. When we first played it, it was a big hit. We played it 3 times in a row. Didn't go over that well.
Really? Why? I'm just curious. Like,
well,
is it the act of killing?
For one thing, there were very few accusations.
Oh.
Really, if somebody was cheating, they basically got away with it. And the game went quickly, so it didn't feel like there wasn't a lot of tension. Like, I think I was the only person, and maybe one or two other people who actually had somebody die. The other thing was,
so everyone just turtled?
I think it was more they just got through it, like nobody even thought about it.
Man, I find that so interesting. Compared to our game, I feel like everyone's like, everyone's like looking around.
And because of that, there's less action cards in play. So
right, and that's where the fun comes.
Less
from.
stuff happens.
Also, everyone's like, all right, everyone, point to someone else.
The other thing was, this was the first time that our friend Garrett played the game.
Oh boy!
And he, as he stated, hated the game because a turn in he said, I've solved this. He basically calculated all the odds, and I was trying to explain to him like, well, you can bluff though, and there's these action cards, and he was like, yeah, sure, but I figured out the whole game. So he didn't want any part of it. So that was sort of a bummer. So anyway, that was Russian Roulette. So then later in the night, this other guy who was there, who I didn't know, who brought up some games in a bag. I was like, oh, cool. One of the ones he had a few Citadels, which we hadn't played yet. And
the old one or the new one?
I think it's, I can't.
Do you remember how big the box was?
It's like a rectangle.
That's the old one.
It's the old one.
The new one's like.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, but cool, let's play that. But people were like, I don't know. So we ended up playing Bang. And it basically reminded me of why I don't like the game Bang.
I'm just curious, did you die within the first few rounds?
No, I wish. So I was the renegade, and that's the person who wants everyone else to die.
Okay.
He's not on anyone's side. And so at first I was like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. I hadn't been that before. That's interesting, maybe. I can do some bluffing a little bit. What ended up happening, by my first turn, I went third. By the time my first turn came around, there were 6 people, I think, playing. Card effects had caused me to discard almost my entire hand. And you only draw 2 per turn. Mm-hmm. And so basically, for most of the game, I just didn't have a hand. And my turn, I just couldn't do anything. And it sucked. And then, of course, Ivan was playing with us, and of course, he was an outlaw, and of course, he just attacked the sheriff outright and didn't try to hide his affiliation at all. And so everybody killed him first. I actually came down to me and only the sheriff and the deputy were the only 3 people left. So I was
because
actually,
you couldn't do anything.
Yeah, almost. I was actually kind of close, but it was not fun. I never had any choices. It was, oh, I gotta try to shoot people. I can tell Garrett, hey, I'm your deputy, but he doesn't believe me. what does he have to go on?
Was he the sheriff?
He was the sheriff. Yeah, that's open for Garrett was our sheriff.
Yeah, I know. There's always the leader who's open.
So. Yeah, it was, and it was kind of fun just with playing with the people that we're playing with, but I was just like, man, I didn't change my opinion at all on the game Bang.
Well, no, I mean, I understand completely, because even though I really love the artwork and the idea of the 3 kingdoms that I have of Bang, I still just find it has like the worst. It shows when player elimination at its worst, I feel.
Yeah, and not even I was in the game, and I was miserable.
I'm saying at least now, I don't think we had that much discarding in the one I had, but it definitely bringing up the different player groups is really interesting. Because I mean, I sort of have another player group, but mostly we do. We've done the DC deck building game, the Lord of the Rings one, and then mostly RPGing. So I haven't really been able to test the waters too much. But even then, that group, half that group is in our group. It's Mark, my brother, and Mark. So you know how they play. So it seems like it's interesting because they were in our Bang, looking at Russian Roulette, not Bang. And in that group, I feel our group, most of our group, with the exception of maybe like 1 or 2 people, are aggressive enough and sneaky enough that they're gonna not only try to cheat their way through as the kind of thing, and a game legally cheat their way through, like in that.
Right.
But we're gonna, and my brother in particular, are willing to be like, I'm calling you out on it.
Yeah.
Like, and we even have the extreme, which is Gary, who will literally predict the odds of call outs. But it sounds like you're that group. Like, I think I might know a couple of the people in there. I don't know how many. I think it was probably more of your college group.
I mean, at least you, yeah.
But it sounds like they're much more of the go with the herd.
Yeah, I don't know. That may be
it's
part
because
of it.
no one else really was doing the call out. They didn't. But like when you said in Bang, when Ivan did the really stupid thing of attacking the sheriff, they all converged on him.
Right, which is, well, but it's like, well, what do you, of course, because, and that's another thing with Bang is, like you've said, you don't have a target necessarily, well, unless, you do, but you don't, and also you're limited by range. So if someone openly attacks the sheriff, it's like a free pass for everybody else to say, oh, I can attack that guy and everyone will think I'm on the sheriff's side or whatever. Whereas when you first start, you're just like, you just have no direction.
Right.
You almost want somebody to do that. In Russian Roulette, I almost feel like maybe I was a little bit on me. Like I should have challenged somebody to get the ball rolling.
Right.
I actually did challenge somebody.
Well, another thing I'm curious about with this group of people, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know them as well. I know in our group, we know each other well enough, so we know to call each other out on our stuff.
Right. Sometimes it's a meta thing where it's harder to gauge people's levels of what they're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how well everyone knew each other and how often. Like, one guy you said, brought a bag of board games, so, that means he's a board game fluent.
Right, right.
I don't know how well other people fluency in games outside of the Hasbro, which is a shame. But I mean, it's something you're going to come across. The podcast I listen to, Dawn Forge, or Dwarven Forge, I'm mixing up, I'll put the right thing. He does a lot of Q&As, and almost every time he does a Q&A, there's something about, my group isn't, doing anything. It's like, have a session 0, make sure you all agree, and sometimes you just don't click, and, sometimes that just happens, and certain games are a bit more reliant on others. And I feel party games in particular, like I know Apples to Apples, I had one of the worst games because it was when I was visiting a friend in California. And when we played it, everyone was having fun, and I'm like, I don't get these inside jokes. Oh, motorcycle always wins. I'm like, why?
Yeah, this isn't quite that, but yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, it was interesting. Also, just I think I even said that Russian Roulette was the better version of Bang when we talked about it in the show. So doing them back to back, and both of them kind of were flops.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I feel like one was a flop because everyone else. One was a flop just for you.
Well, I don't think Ivan was having too much fun either when he got eliminated and just had to leave.
I mean, like I said, my problem with Bang is I think it has it has the worst version of player elimination of a game, I feel like.
So at any rate, Bang. Let us know what you think about those games, or if you went to the Magic tournament. Let's get through pre-release. Let's get through a few comments, just a few real quick to close our show out this week. Kabuki Kid is a fan of the Onirim digital app that we reviewed recently. He says he's already played over 50 games on the app. Not having to constantly physically shuffle makes the game zip by. As you guys said, it is a rare case where the digital version is probably superior to the physical version, expansions aside. Yeah, I can't think of any other time I would say that.
Honestly, after filming that, we went to the Texas PhD trip, and stuff. And I played it a bit more, and it definitely even grew on me during that time.
Yeah, no, it's a great little time killer. Really, really fun. Check out our review of that if you haven't seen that. I think it may still be 99 cents on the App Store or wherever you find it.
Going fast, check it out now.
You brought up Duel Masters last week.
Right, because I said the card game was based, remind me of Duel Masters. I think it was Duel Masters. Let's see how I'm wrong.
Well, I know Falcon Ash K was also familiar with it. It's now known as Kaijudo. I think we've talked about this in the show.
Yes, they changed it, and that really bothered me.
He says he has a good amount of Kaijudo cards. He bought a starter of Duel Masters to compare the two. The artwork and cards were close to the same. He likes the style and layout in Kaijudo better, and is glad Wizards of the Coast bought them out. But he said the game didn't last as much as Magic. There was organized play with Kaijudo. I don't know if we were talking about that. So I don't know. Interesting.
Well, I remember because I did actually get Duel Masters and stuff because it really did feel like Magic the Gathering. This is the first time, 5 colors and stuff. And I made a deck and I really liked it. But the reason Kaijudo, I remember they bring it back is first of all, I remember some of the cards same name and stuff, but they were different, which disappointed me. And the other thing was that reason that I saw from Kaijudo that disappointed me from maybe this is just from the surface. And we were in the board game, so I'm already starting to leave the CCG area. But it felt like Kaijudo sort of had it. I mean, all these card games have a TV show sort of have this thing. But Kaijudo seemed to be really focused because the main character used this creature. That creature is always going to have it. That's one of the problems with I think Yu-Gi-Oh sort of had was
it's too faithful to the show.
Well,
to a
sort
fault.
of if this card's good in the show, we have to make it a good card.
Right.
And occasionally that drifts out, but I'm because the deck I actually had was for once not based on dragons at all. I did not use dragons. I remember in Duel Masters it was a blue-green deck and it was evolving, and it was just because I loved they had this mechanic where if you had a beast, this card can only be played on top of another beast, evolved into this big thing. And it had a lot of blockers, so I always thought that was a lot of fun. And this, obviously the main guy uses a dragon because dragons are cool. So I always felt like whenever I saw this, starter sets or things like that, it always had that guy's artwork on there, just a different version. It's like the dragon, but this one now he's holding a hammer.
Yeah. Well. Oh well.
Yeah. So I can understand if you still liking it because I did think it was different, but I'm glad that I did remember the right card game.
Oh yeah. No, you're in the clear. And Falcon HK also said he's looking forward to more information on custom heroes, that AEG game. So we'll.
Oh yeah, no, that one.
Keep our eyes and ears peeled and out. Old friend Rico Cordova. We talked about Seasons last week. He says, I played Seasons at a convention last year. The guy teaching it clearly knew the system, and we clearly didn't. Seasons is the kind of game I actively avoid.
Ooh.
Not because it's not fun, but because I feel like I need to invest too much time and energy in that system in order to appreciate it. So when I'm playing games with dozens of people over the course of a month, it's not going to be a game I can bring out because I would need those people to fully understand the system to get a good game going. Instead, I focus on games that have familiar mechanics that I can teach relatively quickly, even if you're new to it.
I completely, 50, actually probably 75% agree with that. One of the reasons why I love deck building games is I feel once you've taught them one, no matter which one I bring to the table, no matter what new shiny mechanics I have, you probably already know how to do the strategy, which is just a breather, I feel. Sometimes it can be a little boring, but overall, I guess for me, that's not a problem. I just love seeing all the different cards and stuff.
Yeah.
And
go on, yeah.
But Seasons for me, and I can sort of see that, because Seasons had something, and I know this happened to us. Some other games have it, where there's sort of if there's someone new, use this
Seasons
setup.
does have an advanced set of cards, yeah.
While I understand why they do that, it really does stink if every time you bring it out, there's one person who doesn't know said game. And you're just like, oh god, we're going to use the starting stuff again.
And I think Seasons also, I think even the drafting is optional. I think you can start with either a random, just fully random, right. I think. Because for me, that is the reason Seasons does require more knowledge, is entirely that drafting phase. Like a lot of games, if you don't know what cards and combos are good, you're going to be left behind compared to someone who does. But I think if you eliminate that, most of that is cut down.
Right, but I feel like, I guess for me, the drafting is where the fun is. And
yeah.
But luckily, I feel drafting still, like deck building can be one of those things. So I feel like if you want to bring seasons but don't have the issue, I would suggest maybe looking for games. There's plenty of short games like I know the Ultra Play game we actually talked about. The Kids game is just a simple drafting game. It's a lot shorter. I mean, Magic the Gathering has drafting events. There's plenty of games that use the draft. I mean, Seven Wonders. Go pick up Seven Wonders.
Sushi Go.
Yeah, these by understanding how drafting works. Even if you don't get the mechanics at first, I think once you understand how you think, like, okay, I need to look for a bomb, I still feel like, though, and maybe it's because I don't do Magic drafting, but I still feel like in a specific game, like Seasons, really knowing the cards, because they're all pretty different. No, it's not nearly as easy as deck building to pick up.
Yeah.
But I mean, understanding how to best draft, and like just start picking up the nuances of picking, like, okay, I see John, like, let's look at Seven Wonders. Because that literally is all there is to it, pretty much. It'd be like, okay, I see Jonathan's drafting science cards. So in this hand, let's say there's nothing that really helps me, but there's a science card that's going to help him. So I'm going to take that so you don't get it. So starting picking up those little nuances will help. So even if you don't understand, like, maybe at the very least you could all look through the cards a little bit at first and be like, oh, so there's points or this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, of course, that's different even also in Seasons, because you don't see what the other people have. It's all closed drafting.
Well, no, even if you don't, like, if you see something go around and you see, I notice allies are sticking in there or something, I can take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's much harder, and that's what Magic is like, okay.
I feel like even in Seasons specifically, there aren't really, like, blue cards and black cards. They're kind of all over the place.
A little bit, but that's why. But I still feel that, like, if you want to play Seasons, but that's your issue, I definitely think try to pick up some drafting games to try to get people in that sort of mindset.
I just don't know. Like, it seems tough to, like, where do you draw the line where, like, deck building is a great example. You know, games with similar mechanics, but I feel. We've talked about this on the show also, but I feel like many games have that thing where you need a couple games under your belt before you really
there are a lot.
Almost all the ones I really like, to be honest. So it's a tough thing.
Doesn't Dead of Winter have, like, some beginner thing?
I'm not sure.
Because I think that was one of the ones we were like...
I mean, it has, like, shorter scenarios.
Well, yeah, no, and it's definitely an issue. It's a hard thing, and that's why you really want to find a good gaming group. And one of the reasons why is because I feel like our group, even let's say I get a new game and it has that beginner scenario, most of our group is at the point where it can be like, yeah, just put in the advanced stuff.
Right, yeah. If it's really new people, you can't do that.
Right. So I think that's the other thing, like finding that good group so you can sort of skip the tutorial.
So it is tough. You got to find a balance, and you know.
So I completely understand if it's a hard mechanic.
And when there's so many games out there that you got to narrow your time down, yeah.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that comment. And finally, this is my favorite one. Corvo Atano said...
Is it just Jonathan is great?
Almost. It says, this was good. You guys deserve more subscribers. And I agree, which is why if you're watching this video, you should like and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any thoughts about anything we talked about today or any other board game related questions or comments, we'd love to hear them. Leave a comment right here below on YouTube, or they can find us on social media, at Roll4Crit, Facebook, Instagram, etc.
Yes. And before we go, there's actually... this is something we talked about whether it be news or not, but I think this actually might be a good comment discussion, and we'll bring up in our next episode.
Sure.
They announced, and literally just announced, this is all we know, a Fallout miniatures game based on, spoilers, the Fallout series. And I'm curious of whether you guys have played other of the Fallout games, not just maybe the first-person shooters, but the old turn-based ones, which would translate more into a board game. And what your thoughts are on this. Literally, all we know is Fallout and some Mephistos, I believe it was?
Modifius.
And that supposedly it will pull from all the Fallout franchise, not just the recent Fallout
Give us your
4.
speculation, your hopes, your dreams.
Yeah. I'd love to hear it as a fan of Fallout. I'm curious to see what you guys say. And, of course, Jonathan's a fan, too. I should have mentioned.
Well, I'm a
I mean, I'm not saying like
I'm a fan, I guess, but I haven't delved.
Yeah, I'm not saying like you're apathetic and never played them.
Got it.
I didn't want to take the spotlight away.
No, that one you can have the spotlight on. That is yours. So yes, leave us all that. That would be great. And finally, go to our website, rollforcrit.com, where you can find all these videos, plus buy great games, other miniatures games. Fallout, Monopoly might be
Seasons.
Yeah, Seasons if you like it or you don't. And we still have tons more interviews coming out from that PhD event. Really great stuff going out. You can watch them now from USAopoly, Czech Games, Cryptozoic, lots of other cool people with cool new games. So check all that out. Subscribe. Tell your friends that we'd love it.
Until then, I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and you've been enjoying Roll for Crit.